Hello, thanks for joining me. Let's take a look at how to source the eHealth environment on a Linux server. Here we have a Linux server where I've already installed eHealth, I've rebooted and logged in as the NH user. So we know that eHealth is up and running and eHealth is present. So let's go ahead and check what version of eHealth we have installed. When we call NH showrev, we see that it doesn't run. Now we know that it's there somewhere. Let's try to find it. We'll start at root. And we'll take a quick look. And we see that it's already found it, and there it lives in eHealth bin. And so we have a couple of choices now. I could actually call that command by typing the full path, and I can do that just by putting it in my buffer and clicking. And we see that the command runs. Another option would be to actually cd to that directory, and then I could call the command locally, and again it would run. Both of those options can be inconvenient if you're in the middle of something, if you're not in that directory, or if you don't know the path off the top of your head. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to source the environment so that each time the NH user logs in, we'll be able to determine, we'll be able to source that, and so he'll be able to run those commands from wherever he is. First thing we need to do is to look at the install guide, which will tell us which files are available to source the environment. If you're using Born or Born Again, which is bash, you would use the nethealthrc.sh. If you're using the C shell, you'd use nethealthrc.csh, and for corn, ksh. Those files all live in the root of NH home. For me, NH home is simply whack eHealth with a capital H. So now that we looked at the install guide, the next thing to do is determine who I am. So my NH user is eHealth, and you can see who you are by looking at your command line. It shows you there. Another option would be to type the command, who am I? And here we see that I'm eHealth. So now I'd like to know what shell I'm running. We can cd to the home directory for eHealth, and we'll do a listing. And we'll see that the directory is empty. But if you do a long listing and show hidden folders, hidden files and folders, you'll see that in fact there are a bunch of hidden files in here. And one of them is the bash.profile. So obviously I'm using bash as a shell. But another way to check, which would be somewhat more accurate, would be to actually look in the password file in etc. So we'll do a more etc password and search it for eHealth, which is our user. And we see the same line that I showed you in my example. Didn't show you my example. Here's an example, and here it is here. So again, the last value is that I'm using the bash shell. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we're not making a mess, and the best way to do that is to copy the bash profile or any file that you're going to edit and leave an original around in case you have to restore it. So we'll copy bash.profile to bash.profile.original. And now we have a copy so that no matter what goes wrong, we can always revert. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually edit the original bash.profile. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a section for eHealth, and then we're going to add the path to the NH home directory and call the specific file we want to source, which for us is nethealthrc.sh for Born Again or bash. So I'm a big guy. I believe that it's very important to put comments in your file so that people know what's there and how it got there. So the first thing we're going to do is add a comment. The first thing we're going to do is go into insert mode and add a comment. Okay, and basically it's hard to see because it's blue on black, so it says this section added to source eHealth environment. And then we're going to source path. For me is just whack eHealth, and the file is nethealthrc, and again the appropriate extension for me is sh. And then I again like to put a comment letting you know that I'm done with this section, and I'm writing end of eHealth section. So now I've got 3 lines added in there. This section added to source the eHealth environment, the actual source command and the path to the file I want to source, and then a comment end of eHealth section. We'll escape out of that. Save it, and then just to be thorough, we're going to do a more on it to make sure that I did edit it and the edit came out correctly. And in fact, there's my section, and it's much easier to read in this mode, so we can see the 3 lines I added right at the end. So now that I've got the information in there to source the environment, why don't we log out, and then we'll log back in as the NH user. And now the environment should be sourced. It would be nice if I picked the right machine. Sorry about that. And now the environment would be sourced. And to show that, we'll do an NH show rev from the default directory, and it works. So basically that is how you source an environment on Linux. Again, the differentiation would be the shell you're using will determine which file. And thank you very much for joining me.